Alright, 6:30, I'll bring the meeting to order. First up, modifications and changes. Anybody have anything to modify or change? Next up, we move on to public comment. You have an agenda item, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody on Zoom.
Nope.
Alright, nobody here from the public, so nobody to comment. So we'll move on to review and approval for the minutes of September 27th. Sandy, did you find any errors or omissions?
I thought I saw one word that I thought should have been started and it was stated. It sounded like strange English. No, I can't tell you where it is.
She said she stated that they were planning on having.
No, because this is good. The
That's
trustees
right,
stated
yeah.
they look forward to, no, it wasn't that one. It was speed bumps. The trustees stated to continue looking into this to discuss further with the upcoming budget proposals. Just rather strange grammar. But that's all.
Where did we talk about speed bumps?
Close enough.
Number
7.
7.
I know what they meant.
Might add a comma or something like that.
It'll work.
It's
Motion
not a
to
gross
approve.
error. Move.
Second.
Second.
Eli with the first, I heard Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed nay. Okay, up next we have Lincoln Park permit request with Enosburg Rec and Library Halloween.
Do I need to recuse myself if I'm gonna participate?
On what we have.
A chunk.
The village is participating with a trunk as well, so.
It's all
Because you
fun
wanted
to
to
me.
win the parade.
It'll be alright.
So, Margot sent in the revised applications.
So in your packet, sorry to interrupt, in your packet is the updated application and then also an email chain with Brent Garrow of the Lions Club stating that they would be more than happy. to
Now it
provide
is
their-
1 to 5?
That will be using the park, yes.
The event is from 2 to 4.
2 to 4.
But for cleanup, they have it in the permit.
All right. Thank you.
And then I spoke with Brian Bunk, and he said they'll be closed, they don't care if we close the street, whatever we do. So,
Perfect, sounds like you got everything that we needed.
yeah,
Clackers are lined up.
we try.
So, having all the information that we need now, I will hear a motion to accept.
I move we accept.
A second?
Danny with the first, Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed nay. Sorry for dragging you back in here
That's
one more
okay.
time. But
And on that topic, again, the village will have a truck there if any of the trustees wanna come help hand out candy. I'm already trying to get a couple other staff members with me, cause my kids will be with me as well, but feel free, we will have
Maybe you can give preference to me.
village truck or, I don't know which one yet, but it'll be just one of the pickup trucks. Cause I'm probably driving it. It'd be scary.
you don't want to
otherwise.
get your CDL for this event?
No, I'm good.
Tacoma probably works.
I'd rather bribe a staff member.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to that. It'll be great.
All right, up next we have wastewater USDA loan payoff request with Abby.
So in your packet, you'll see I kind of put up the amortization schedule. Brian and I chatted about this. He has a loan that originated in 1995 through the USDA. Its interest rate is 4.5%. Maturity date is 2025. Apparently he's asked previously that we could just pay this one off because it's such a higher interest rate compared to what we normally get, but I don't think it made it before the board. So we, again, are asking if we could just pay this loan off to save on the interest over the next couple of years. Right now, the payoff is just shy of $34,000. They'd have to get what it currently is with the interest rate changing.
And we have plenty.
Cash flow is fine. They're about $550 right now, plus the general fund is gonna be paying off an interfund loan, so they're gonna be in the 700 range, so.
It looks like they've done a pretty
Cash
exemplary
is-
job here, so.
Cash is extremely comfortable, so,
Save us like $2,700
yeah,
in interest.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
okay.
I don't have a problem with that. I will hear a motion to, how do we want to phrase this? Just give staff permission to pay off the remaining balance of the USDA
Yep.
loan.
Just like that,
So
just
moved.
perfect.
I make the motion.
All right, I heard Leonard first,
Second.
Eli the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. All right, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
You're You're not done yet, budget discussion.
Sorry, you guys are stuck with listening to me a little bit tonight.
I was going too fast, I have to text Lori, hold on.
Just a couple of things. I have met with all department heads except for Gary, because last week, I'm sure as you all know, with Main Street turned into a little bit of a mess for Gary. My goal is by the end of October to have a draft budget to put before you guys at our November meeting, knowing that there's still gonna be some holes that we just can't get prices on right now or stuff that we're working on. But in order to do that, I just have kind of a quick list of things that I need to clarify with you guys to just kind of narrow it down. So I'll make this as quick as can be. One thing that we are trying to do is get things in the right budget that they belong. There's been a lot of stuff that's been kind of spread and dispersed, and it's been kind of a point of contention for some of the department heads. So we're trying to kind of look at, one thing for instance is the backhoe. All the departments are paying for the backhoe, but there's really only one department that uses the backhoe. So the thought process at this point is we're gonna come up with an hourly rate. So if wastewater needs the backhoe, Ken is the one that's always operating it. He'll track his time, and then we'll bill wastewater for that time, and make kind of how it, in my opinion, how it should be, rather than dividing it up.
Was it like the 70?
No, it was
Split?
25% across all of them, but like light department pretty much never uses it, wastewater pretty much never uses it, and water only uses it if they have a break.
What was the rationale?
I can't answer that, I wasn't here.
Probably so that if any of the other departments needed it, there would be no issues. Like if-
And I think part of it too was to offset the tax rate for the general fund / highway budget. That was my kind of understanding from listening to all the department heads grumble when we talked about this a little bit. But that was our thought process, but I just wanted to kind of make sure you guys were on board with that. Right now, we're looking at $110 an hour if we were to bill out to another one to cover Ken's time plus anything on the backhoe, and we've called around to a couple different people that have backhoes, and that's a little bit less than what everybody else is charging, but to stay competitive, so to speak, and make sure they're recouping their costs on that. That was one.
Is that backhoe currently paid off?
Yes, I believe so.
Has it been depreciated?
I'd have to look to see if it's been fully depreciated yet or not. I can check on the depreciation on that on the schedule.
Because what were you thinking, just moving it, just 100% ownership to highway, and then billing all the rest of the departments, and then let highway absorb the depreciation too?
The general fund and highway doesn't actually have a depreciation schedule like the other two. Or the other three, excuse me. So I can look to see if it hits on to the other three depreciation schedules and then work out with our auditors kind of the best way to handle that. My guess is it's probably been fully depreciated.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty old.
yeah. So, the other thing was we are gonna be looking at adding that fourth person, and again, I know we talked about it last year for the highway department. I'm gonna be adding it in, seeing what it looks like, and we're gonna do from May. So it won't be a full year, just by the time budgets get passed in March, you go through all the hiring and everything. We're gonna start with May. Ken was comfortable with that. But kind of like what we just did with the light department, get somebody else, in there that kind of can take over the ropes if need be. Just thinking long-term planning for the future, like we've got our 2 new apprentices up there, we kind of need to do essentially the same thing with the highway department as well. Okay. Bandstand. Do you have a dimension on the stairs? Do you want them 4 feet wide, 6 feet wide? So
They're
we
really
can.
10, right?
They were
They
probably
were
10
wide.
feet wide, they were very wide.
So do we know why those got taken out originally?
We kinda discussed it last time and nobody's
Who
really
knew?
sure.
So I kind of chatted with Ken about that and asked him that question because obviously he's been here for a little bit. He thought it was because they were having issues with vandalism up
Well,
there.
we had a year or two where it was horrific
So-
and constant, so that's very possible.
Maybe
Might have
more
been the
inviting.
same. Pardon?
It made it more inviting to go out.
Yeah, made it more inviting, you know, maybe somebody had a miniature chainsaw, I don't know.
And do you know, or should we also be looking at a ramp to get out there? Because there won't be a ramp at all. That was the other question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
88.
Yeah, that's the other thing Ken brought up too.
That may not be as big of a deal as we think if we run it where the existing stairs are now. And you
That's
might
what
be
I
able
was
to
kinda
get the
thinking,
slope if you bank around the back. I know there's a door
Okay.
there, but
So I'll have them look into that. So
Yes.
10 feet on the,
Would the Folk Center, would they participate in build that?
possibly. We haven't reached out yet. We wanted to get the dimensions and figure out kind of pricing and which way we were gonna go, if it's something that the guys could build or if we needed to contract out.
Because they're looking for projects, I believe.
Yeah,
Those
one
are
of their big
resource.
projects is on hold right now, so
That
they're looking
just-
for
And
work.
if you wanna build it out of wood or steel,
So the railings,
but it's in a really good location if it was for the school.
Right.
It's all accessible.
Right.
no, I'm all for calling the school to take part in this, definitely. Okay,
And they get more bang for their buck because they don't travel time a lot of times. It sucks a
Right.
lot of the class session away from
Right.
where-
They
If
can
it
walk
takes them
there.
30 seconds to get there, they've got more time to work.
the other one that we were talking about, and this is another kind of putting it maybe where it would fit a little bit better, is Echo Park and the Bridge of Flower and Lights. We're kind of treating and utilizing as parks, but all of this is coming out of the light department. I kind of chatted with Ken about this as well, as maybe moving the maintenance stuff to their budget to fall under maintenance of parks. I mean,
That makes
Island View, we
sense.
treat as a park. I mean, it's Echo Park. I get that the light department, I think, paid for diesel, the restoration of the diesel building.
That was a grant.
Was that us? I thought
Yeah.
it was grant. But those are another one that kind of got stuck to the light department, and those guys literally don't do
Yeah, they-
anything. It is
they
all
don't
the
have any
highway
interaction with it.
department. And it would probably only add a couple of thousand to,
This would be
Maintenance
right
of
out of the
parks.
grand list.
Hmm?
This would be right out of the grand list.
and it's gonna be one of these two. We're gonna do all of these changes, and I won't lie, it's probably not gonna be a pretty number at first, but we may have to do it baby steps on kind of moving some of this stuff. But there, like I said, there's just a handful of things that have been dispersed out that really should fall under that general fund.
I think you're right about the tax rate, though. I think that's probably why they did get dispersed.
Yeah, so it's gonna not be pretty the first draft. I'm fully prepared for that, and we may not be able to do this all at once, especially with looking at that fourth person. But
We won't know until we see it.
it's kind of one of those baby steps over the next few years of kind of shifting
Can't grow if we
everything.
don't move.
I agree. Okay.
True story.
Equipment replacement appropriation, we used to have, it got taken out. Ken really would like that back, even if it's $10,000. So we may have to play on that one with the sidewalk appropriation, like we did 25, so maybe we do 15 and 10, or divide it up so that doesn't hit the tax rate so hard. But
What's
that-
our current appropriation for sidewalks?
We did 25,000 for this year. It goes anywhere from 10 to 25, depends on the year.
Okay.
You do 12 and a half, 12 and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it hasn't been consistent. It's whatever we've had lined up for projects or to replenish it.
Right.
And there's only about $3,000 in the savings for sidewalks right now.
Well, that ARPA is gonna take care of a project, not to say that we should let up on investing in sidewalks, but it'll at least give a little relief.
The ARPA will help, and I'm exploring 2 different grants, possibly for the Pearl Street one. So I'm trying to find, we're trying to find ways to alleviate having to all come out of the tax
We
rate.
could this year put a little bit more in the equipment to get that kind of back up.
Guys,
closer
we
to
don't
where it
have
should be,
one.
And then,
I
We
think
don't-
the 12 and 12 would be.
that's what I mean, like, you get it back a little bit closer, and then next year you can
Yeah, if
decide
we
what
split
we
it-
need more in sidewalks or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
We can carry it.
It'd be nice to get get it where we need, or get it where we figured out what number we need
Mhm.
to just kind of keep rolling.
Have that be the, yeah.
Okay,
We'll
so,
get there.
It'll never be enough, I'm sure.
No.
okay, one last thing, and then I've got enough of what I need to keep moving forward. Just, this isn't one's kind of more a heads up, and if you have any suggestions. The John Deere tractor, the small tractor that we use, is becoming quite a headache. It's been a headache from the beginning. It's not really
You mean what I would call the sidewalk plow?
Correct.
It's the color of it that
The
makes it
one
better.
that's, the one that's too wide for the sidewalk?
Well, that's just it. It is not the right thing the right piece of equipment. If there's too much snow, it's not heavy enough, you can't plow all the way down to the sidewalk. Like they
Right.
just run into, you know,
I've noticed the side.
That's the
I
ankle
don't-
breaker walk.
I was gonna say, I don't walk a lot like Sandy does, but those sidewalks in the wintertime are always.
And
You just
it
look a little
takes-
drunk, that's all.
and it takes
Heather too, she walks a lot.
so long for them to do it. Like if we get a big storm, it'll take them 3 days just to clean up all the sidewalks in the village because the tractor's really just not equipped. Ken's, I guess, wish list thought process is getting, because we do mow the parks with that as well, but looking into a zero turn for the parks and then a specific, some type of
Dedicated
equipment for
sidewalk
the
plowing.
plowing. Yes, Ken's gonna price out both electric and gas powered zero turn.
Jump in, but I just
Go
thought,
ahead.
did they ever get the extra batteries for that one?
They're
Not yet,
going
but they're
to.
going to, we just
They're
talked
kind of
to,
waiting to see if they go on sale for the winter.
yeah,
Get them cheaper.
Brian does plan on purchasing those before the end of the
I
year.
was just curious how the extra batteries worked out.
Do they make a sidewalk plow? They must.
Oh, yeah.
They do,
Yeah, but they're like.
I feel like they're really expensive.
75,000 or something.
We used to
They
have
are
one.
crazy. Richford still has one, don't they?
St. Albans,
Yeah.
I think, has one too.
Yes, I do. St. Albans is a snow blower. I've
Yeah.
never seen them plowing, I've only seen
Well,
St.
we
Albans
have-
using
yeah.
a snow blower.
I thought we had a snowball.
We have a
on ours.
snowblower.
Yeah, we do, we
Yeah.
have both, snow blower and plow.
He's
But-
got the plow on the floor.
They're, like you said, Ken's gonna price out and kind of do some homework before we fully pitch it to you guys, but I just kind of wanted to bring that to you that the tractors we're having issues with. Ken's constantly working on the tractor and
That
getting
series
parts.
of tractor was pretty bad.
Yeah, and he says from the beginning they've been having issues with it. I know since I have been here, it's constant trying to get parts or something's broke on it.
Because at least parts are cheap and available, right?
I wish. Okay.
Like some gentleman farmer that doesn't know what he's doing, foist it on him.
Okay, so that is all I had, just to kind of give you a heads up, let you know kind of where we're all at with moving stuff. Obviously, we gotta put it on paper, see what the numbers look like, and then we can go from there. But first meeting in November, we will have budgets officially on the agenda. I will come find you.
Did you get
When
my
did
email about the grant?
Yes, I did happen to see that. I haven't been in, but I have been checking my email.
In October, you get back in like beginning of April.
I didn't see, like, I know the application's due in November, but I don't know when the decision's made. I didn't read that far.
Okay. I did have a call with AARP Tuesday. I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. Last Tuesday, was it Tuesday? Okay. And had a really good chat with her about the grant for the crosswalks, the painted crosswalks, and then also our thoughts on the Pearl Street part. And she gave me some kind of good tips for that. The Pearl Street, the one that I want to go for the Pearl Street is pretty competitive and it's a nationwide one. But she gave me, it was a great talk. She connected me with a couple of different people, so I still plan to apply for that. And she told me a couple other opportunities. So, and we did
Make her
get
your friend?
the one. Yeah, so we did get. I did submit one for the flower and lights. So I should know probably by the end of next week if we were going to receive that $4,000 or not.
Great.
So
You know,
it's a start. We're getting there.
it's, you stop and think about it, it's a start. It's a pretty big start.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at this whole picture we've got right here, it's a pretty big start.
And kind of on that, not related to budgets at all, I did get a phone call from somebody that lives in the village saying that she watched the recording for the last meeting, which she's like, I never normally do, but there was one thing I wanted to check, and gave me a call and said how nice and refreshing it was, the discussion about, you know, the Bridge of Flower and Lights, taking part in some of the community events, how it's more just community minded, and that she appreciated that with John being here, and it was a very nice phone call to get. So I just
That's
wanted to share
wonderful.
that.
It's nice to get good ones from time to time, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
All right, ready for budgets?
That's all I got for today. Thank you.
Alright, thank you. Next, manager's report.
Good evening. The big dig that you all probably got a phone call or
It's
two on.
Second page.
So it's on the
Right
back
on the
side of the
agenda.
first page. For
Ah,
some reason, Psyche copied it that way.
I think
Oh, I did not look there.
Big Dig could have been a lot worse.
She was trying to make sure we were all
I
paying
think that was a
attention.
it was a bad show right from the beginning. Personally.
It was interesting.
So,
There's a little lack of communication, I feel like.
So, yeah, it was put on them to provide the signs and, you know, the whole contract was for them to provide all the outreach and so forth. You know, part of what we felt wasn't, you know, they were gonna basically mention it to the businesses around, right in the area, you know, we're like, well, that doesn't make sense, you should be contacting McDermott or DFA now, and all the trucking companies and so forth. So we kind of took it upon ourselves and reach out to some of these folks and then make sure they were aware that it wasn't done well. I guess the one thing on their side is it had been a struggle with the flagging crews. And they've been extremely busy, shorthanded type of thing. So we literally didn't know until that Friday. Was that Friday, right? It was Friday, or Monday. It was Monday.
No, it was the Thursday before they started digging is when we got the official alert.
Yeah,
That's when
so it was a
they were
very short notice thing, like, oh, we're ready to set up and get going on it, so.
And people asking me about it, I'm like, I don't know. I ended up messaging Sam.
We had a lot of phone calls saying, well, it's a village road, don't you know what's going on? And I'm like, you need to call
Yes,
so-and-so or
that's-
so-and-so or
That's not a
so-and-so.
good look for us.
No, it was
Oh.
not at all. It was not, I kind of was like, well, Gary and John aren't in the office, this is what I know, but it was not a good situation for office staff to be in. We got a lot of not nice phone calls.
So I revisited with Gary to make sure, even though it's not our project per se, it's still in our village, we gotta make sure that it's being followed properly. So they did, I mean, and then the other thing too, it didn't delay a day because they did hit the sewer line when trying to find the sewer line, which then caused us to have to call Benosh to come in and clean out some piping, so. All that was complete, as you probably were aware, Thursday afternoon, and then they had let some things settle through the night and reopened Friday morning.
And I believe we are gonna have to have Minosh jet the lines one more time.
Yeah,
What
they're probably
Brian
gonna
said.
have to come back, and then of course, tracking it all and billing it out to the project, so.
Is there any word, any idea when they're gonna pave it?
I think they should.
They are gonna be paving it, last I knew, they were given a time frame of, Jim emailed yesterday, I think it's 5 to 7 days they're looking at to get it paved.
It's definitely slowed traffic
Oh,
down.
for sure.
It has, oh no, I agree.
It's a wonderful set of speed bumps.
Never thought about that.
Yeah, I've seen some trucks come through there at like 5 miles an hour as opposed
Yeah.
to 35.
And I've seen a few that were coming through and all of a sudden going, oh crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it slowed everybody down.
So yeah, the intent right now is for them, so they also have to, so they had to leave the, is it 1.5 inch line? They had to leave the line hooked up because they had to feed the apartments. So they have to actually, they're gonna pave it and then come back in the spring. They have to actually dig it back up, unhook that line and then repave anyway. So, I don't maybe have to dig the whole thing up. But it's all,
Disconnect that line.
I get, just, Gary felt they needed to be disconnected.
Seems like they could
Use
cap it inside the building if they really needed to disconnect it.
Yeah, I don't,
Dig up Main Street again.
they're kind of looking into that a little bit more.
I think Wayne Elliott might be worthwhile to reach out and see what he thinks about this.
If it was on Champlain Street or something, like, well, whatever, dig it up again, but it's
Yeah,
Main Street.
another Main Street road closure wouldn't really be ideal.
So they, Scott's supposed to be coming back, supposed to be putting in the sidewalks, the whole 9 yards, it's all in the process, so. That's where that's
But
at.
it's all perfectly passable right now.
Yes.
I mean, the sidewalk is passable.
So cameras, I know Rachel was in here last meeting, and then I also attended the EVA meeting last week, and I also attended the EI meeting over the past couple weeks, I should say. And, you know, I guess village safety and cameras came up. You know, people are talking out there, it all came at different angles. So,
There's a wicked buzz out there, actually, as a matter of fact.
yeah.
So I did
Wicked
a-
buzz.
I've been
People
hearing
are,
cameras for over a year.
and just a buzz about quality of life in Enosburg, period. And it's
What
it's
happened
like
to Jolly and
it's like a bunch of bees.
I did a little
So-
homework on that, just to give you the backstory behind that, because how Rachel had mentioned that we had money that was appropriated for this.
Mhm.
That wasn't fully the case. So at the March 14th, 2017 was when this was discussed, under Article 10, which was to vote basically to set the tax rate. There was a motion made to add 2,000 specifically for security cameras. There was some discussion, about what the total cost would be, and some residents saying that they weren't comfortable making that decision with only a few people at the annual meeting.
That was back when we used to have 7.
So they decided to withdraw that motion and then made a motion to add just $2,000 to the budget. And the intent behind that, I think, would have been to look into this. From there, in September, Jonathan Elwell sent a memo to the board about that this happened and there hadn't been any discussion about it yet, but that there was no requirements on how the money needed to be spent, just that $2,000. And then at the trustee meeting, Guy Bro mentioned that, and this was September 12th, 2017, that the Richford cameras weren't being used anymore. Not necessarily, because when I started dispatching when they first came out, and they started out great, and then they were hard to access, and the connection wasn't always the greatest. So they were great at first. So I have heard grumblings that they
Did they
did
ever fix
stop
them?
using them. I didn't dispatch there anymore, so I
We
don't
would
know.
have no way of knowing.
Yeah. Trustees were concerned about the cost, installation, and maintenance, and who would be responsible for monitoring them. And Guy Rowe was supposed to talk to Richford, and that was kind of where it ended. So there's a backdrop, and then I'll let John run with it now.
So I did call Richford, I haven't heard back yet from the town clerk, but I did talk to Lily, I guess just started there. So it sounds like they are up and running. I guess I'm just trying to find out where, the way it sounds, they have a hard drive at the office and it must record and then they can provide it. I asked her that question if sheriff or state, because that's what I don't remember what meeting I was in, but I heard that they had access. If they
I was
needed
at
it.
the sheriff's office when they gave us access when we came out.
Yeah, those
That's
cameras
what
are
I
still
had.
in.
Are they still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
The one I had at my store, they had access to, and at times they just came in and sat down at the desk and found what they wanted if they hadn't seen it before, and it worked well.
I'm thinking like live access, would they be able to get on a laptop?
They should,
Like what they have.
absolutely. We
You
have it
can,
at
what
the
you can with the
Quincy.
Richford ones. There was no, Julie, I could live see what was going on.
So basically where I'm at is I'm gonna look up basic creating a small network and then probably running a hard drive back here or something, and then I just have to figure out.
Any
how to-
other comparable places to look at as
I mean,
well as
St. Al, like I
Richford?
said, I worked internet-wise on the St. Albans one. I mean, I've been in there, it's.
Does Swanton have them?
I don't know, that's a good question, I don't know.
I was just trying to think of, geographically or demographically, the size of.
So AMI requires like a
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi or wireless
No, that's-
network. Is there any way to piggyback on that if we're going down that avenue?
There may be, I was actually thinking that today because we had an AMI meeting and there is gonna be some areas that we may not have cell coverage. So we've gotta figure out how to backhaul it anyway. So,
But as far as everything in the village, we would have cell coverage enough for AMI.
either cell coverage enough, or even if we wanted to run a piece of fiber from Main Street, it wouldn't be that hard, because it's not even a half a mile, so. But yeah, I thought about that today too, because you're right, you wouldn't have to have it in the village, but we may have to look at like point-to-point services.
Mhm.
So we may have to have like a pole or maybe one of the church steeples looking at, maybe a hillside in Bakersfield.
Booster or something.
Yep, and then in that process, you can now shoot back here or whatever, so.
Mhm.
Kind of looking into that network.
Cause it would be kinda interesting to have like a village grid within the village of village Wi-Fi for all of our resources. If
Yeah.
we're doing it, might as well do it for everything.
We
Right.
get CUD stuff.
The only problem with that,
We already have Wi-Fi, so.
the only issue with that is just the cybersecurity, you just wanna watch that.
Yeah.
Or else it'd be easy to do. But yeah, it's one of the things I'm looking at, because then we could just throw a couple modems out there as poles and
Mhm.
go at it. And a lot of these poles are gonna have power to them anyway, so.
And as far as the camera is concerned, like if we, I mean, I can understand the risk with AMI, but if you have just a camera, if somebody wants to hack in and live feed the camera, I don't see there's any reason. We could even have a little link on our Facebook page or something that.
Yeah, they're
Like,
just
let's
only
watch-
gonna see what everybody else is
Let's
gonna
watch
see,
Main Street,
so.
yeah, there's nothing special on the cameras, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, you're right. Well, that's what I'm trying to, so I was supposed to meet with Al today down in Swanton. You guys don't know him, he's Al Mosier, he's a pretty sharp guy with technology as well. And that's what he basically has, it's its own network, it's internal, so it's not external at all. And he has it running right back to the office, so it goes all the way up to the hydros and it's in the village. So I don't know if they have cameras like for the police to use, but they do have cameras that look in their substations and the hydros.
Some
and stuff.
monitors, stuff.
Some monitor, yeah, to monitor things, so.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I was supposed to talk to him today before our meeting over there, but I didn't, he was out sick, so I'm gonna go back and try to catch up with him and work with him to see about, just kinda pick his brain a little bit on the network they have as well. But yeah, I mean, so to your point, maybe we do put, maybe not all cameras, but maybe we put a couple, because that was one other suggestion that they had was, that I've read about is, like, so St. Albans has the Facebook community neighborhood watch. So again, very, could open a little bit of can of worms, but
Yeah.
it's very monitored, no swearing, there's really not, there shouldn't be a lot of discussion on it, but it gives information, you're supposed to be informative. A neighborhood watch Facebook page that is run by a bunch of community members. And, it's supposedly a reporting thing, I saw a break-in on Main Street,
I saw a cash
Kinda
register
like
walking
how
up
we
past
use-
my house.
Kinda like how we use front porch forum sort of, except that it only hits a certain audience.
Same process, or we could use that platform as well, for sure. But just trying to involve the community, because it sounds like folks want to be involved as well, and are willing to help a little bit too in this, just not be, throw out there's a problem. So yeah, looking into that as well, and seeing, who would monitor it and who would watch it. So.
The town has 2 cameras, right?
The town of Enosburg,
Yeah, because did we have that conversation when we had the joint meeting?
they don't have them up yet. They were looking into that as an option for
For the
the
Opera
parking
House.
lot by the Opera House. I think they okayed them to get them. I know last conversation I had with Jesse Woods about it, he's still looking into it. They're running into the Wi-Fi issue there as well. And they're looking at a couple other options with the parking lot, so they have not actually purchased or installed cameras yet.
So they don't have any cameras at all, because for some reason I felt like they said that they had a camera or 2 already.
Not to my knowledge, no.
I mean, I've been in the city, St. Albans City, they have 10 cameras throughout the city. They have a TV, you can see all of them, see what's going on at each one. So,
There's a lot of stuff going on, there's no doubt about that. There would be a lot of things to watch.
And that's a layer of accountability. Well,
Not
you
that the
get
drug
away with a
dealers are
lot
gonna
in
care,
court
but.
these days,
Right.
if you don't lie.
I think, but like I said last time though, it does help, if, it's one thing to say, well, I saw somebody walking down the street with a cash register, but then you got license.
And I didn't see him, I was sleeping.
When you have license plates and, more informative information you can give the police,
Yes,
it jumpstarts
absolutely.
and gets their process a lot faster forward.
I would think that it would be a great deal of support for them if they had, substantial evidence and
Right.
an end of hearsay and, actually got some help from us.
Right, so, yeah.
So just a heads up, the corner of Archibald and Missisquoi, there is a slight water leak, and they will be, sounds like they're just gonna shut it down, because it should be quick. This
Yeah,
week,
that was like
Thursday.
a couple of weeks before the big dig. Because I kept noticing it every Sunday when I went to church. It's like, why is there water in the road?
Yeah, it's a small leak, actually it was small enough where the locator had an issue finding it. They kind
Well,
of-
at first I thought it was just the guy that lives on the corner that was, had his hose running into the road or something, right?
So I thought the first time out, by the next day, it was all wet.
So that should be less than a day's project, they'll start early and be done, so.
Thanks for the heads up.
Other than that, that's all I have, other than I'm gonna have to try to find Lori and the lawyer here, because we're done a lot sooner than I thought we would be.
Oh, I have one thing that I told you about that I would like to bring up, if I could, about the poll.
Oh, yes.
A former trustee stopped me on the sidewalk a few days ago and was talking about the pole that the guys installed on Missisquoi Street. It was Ava Stravis, and she was just absolutely amazed and elated at how well they worked, how quickly they worked, and what a great job they did. She said it was just amazing. Those men just worked so well together, and apparently she sat and watched them do the whole thing. And she was,
Power pole?
yes, I think so, over by
They
the
put it in for
vocational center.
For the vote.
sugar
for the
house.
vote center.
Whatever.
And the two young men we hired are doing very well, very,
Yeah, they're fitting in really well and
yeah.
Good.
They're just absorbing, they're not really, they're listening and taking in everything they can, and they're doing a good job.
That's great.
Yeah, they're good. Well,
Couldn't ask for more
That's the
than
biggest
that.
part of their job right now.
yes. So I kept explaining that to them, you're just you're a sponge for like 6 months at least,
Yeah, for sure.
so.
All right, any other business?
I've got a quick historical society update.
Try to get a hold of Lori,
Thursday
she's coming.
afternoon, Jesse and I had set up an appointment with Historical Preservation. We actually had 2 members come on site for the Historical Society building. Cindy Weed and Sharon Whitehead were both present as well for this. It was just an outside, here's the situation we're in, what can we do, what can't we do. It was a pretty good meeting with them. There's been some discussion with Historical Society members about just repairing the roof and not replacing the roof. They would like to see it replaced, and I agree. Looking at the roof, I believe the contractor that stated that it could be repaired hasn't physically come and looked at the roof.
It was one of those, oh yeah, you can fix that.
Yeah, basically that was the impression that I got, but I could be misunderstanding that wrong. So they are definitely leaning towards replacement of the roof. Cindy did apply for the grant that was due last week, the historical preservation grant. Sounds like we will get the support of the 2 ladies that were there to help push so that we can maybe look at standing seam versus shingles, because it's still a big debate back and forth because the original pictures show that it was the wooden shingles. So they kind of pointed out a couple other things that they'd like to see fix on it if we do get somebody there. I do know that the Historical Society has reached out to the tech center because they have a big project that got put on hold and is trying to coordinate the railings. The railings are not historical, so as long as they meet code, they could pretty much do anything they want with the railings. Also, what Jesse and I were thinking for the second egress off the back corner, they were in agreement with just kind of the door would have to somewhat match like historical, kind of just historical look for that aspect, but then we could have standard. My thought was a landing and a ramp or stairs. I believe because we already have the ramp up front, I don't think we have to do a ramp out back, but the way the eaves are, it may fit it may be easier because the property boundary is the end of that overhang. So
You have 10 feet,
10 feet after that,
remember in the deed?
there's still a big debate over that, but our goal is to try to stay under the overhang and not go out any further.
May I be excused to go and take care of a hotel issue and I'll be right back?
Sure.
No problem.
Always.
So that's,
hotel.
as of November 1st, there will be a new president and then kind of a new board as well. I'm not 100% sure who that's going to be yet, but slowly we're making some progress. Ball's going to kind of be in their court a little bit to figure out the cost because they were talking about using the tech center group for the railing. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure they could probably cut in a door and do the back ramp as well. So I'm hoping whenever they have that meeting that they will pursue both with them.
Mhm.
But I will keep you in the loop on that. But stuff's happening, but at a very slow pace, and I expect it's going to stay that way until November when we get, once just because they're at the end of it trying to figure out who's taking over and whatnot. So I expect that. And it may not be good. We may end up back to square one, depending on what the new board is. So that's where that's at. But I'm hoping we don't continue the debate of repair or replace, because if you just go look at it, it really needs to be replaced, especially the overhangs.
Yeah, you can see those.
Those look. I'm surprised they haven't fallen off. She did mention there's a window on that back side too that's boarded up top, and that some of the other windows above the doors along the sides of the building need to be like reglazed, and there's a couple things they pointed out that aren't necessarily stuff that has to happen tomorrow, but kind of their recommendations just for keeping the building in one piece. But definitely she also hammered home of having a regular maintenance plan on that building as well. So, but it was a really productive meeting. The other thing I will add is we were talking about the weatherization of the hydro for Village 1 project. I got chatting with them about the Kendall building because the windows and one of the doors is going to need to be addressed here pretty soon, and we may not be able to spray foam Village 1.
Spray foam is through the roof right now.
It
too.
is. I'm gonna send her some pictures. We're gonna try to come up with a plan back and forth what they would be okay with, because I was told that anything on the inside of the building, we could do whatever we wanted with to stay with functionality of the hydros. That's not actually true. That was incorrect. So they need to basically okay anything that we do on the inside of those buildings.
That sounds like a process.
Spray foam and paint it to look like brick.
Well, we might, depending, I've got to go get down there and kind of take some measurements and look at it. We might be able to spray foam. It's just how we board, because you have to cover spray foam, how we cover it. We may not be able to do as big of a depth of what they originally wanted, but we may still be able to get away with it. But I haven't been in since that meeting on Thursday, so I haven't had a chance to go down. And then I'll keep working with Elizabeth and come up with a plan. So I'm glad I asked that question before we went any further with everything. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
I was going through our utility bill, and the letter in there, John, that you sent to people, is very nicely written.
Thank you, Lori.
You know, did you?
I may have hacked a little bit of it.
Okay, I was
BC.
starting to read it, I was like, oh, I feel like Lori wrote a
BC
letter,
was-
and then
yeah.
I was like, oh,
It was a collective group effort.
very good, it was a very.
I can't take all the credit.
I'll take it all. I did a hell of a job, I worked all night on it, but.
Any other business? Hearing none, I will hear a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position of the municipality. Either the first, Leonard the second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Those opposed nay. Alright,
Did you